Hey guys, so we're going to cover the Stencil Widget. Spirou4D has worked on it. Kgeogeo was the first one to write it, and it was a couple of versions ago with Blender. Now we have something that will actually work in the 278A. We're going to look at our texture that I've got loaded up right now in the brush. And right now we have an image sequence. So if you go advance along, you can see the image update over here. So we have different options. We'll go to the first one. Here I've got it set to view plane, so we don't see anything yet. And what you'll want to do is, before you get started, you want to go to this website, github.com, Spirou4D Stencil Widget. Go ahead and download the file and install, and you'll see this is what comes up when you press Shift-Control-Q, and you have the ability to do a lot of different changes to the stencil texture. What I'll show you is the difference here. The normal stencil controls just automatic. You'll see that I've got the image over here, and I can run up in options. I can run up the controls to see more of it, or all the way, and that's fine, but that takes you away from your tool. It takes time away from what you're doing. And you can use the Shift F for your brush for the amount of strength. Control F to rotate the texture, and this isn't with a widget, this is just your default. And I do think that though there's less than control here, so to actually make use of it, we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and pick a color. We'll go ahead and just jump, and then we'll pick something solid so that we can see it show up. And so if I turn around and paint, catch it, you can barely see it. Let me go ahead and bring the strength up, turn off pressure for the radius and the strength. So we're painting on a 4K image, so it might kind of get kind of crazy. You actually might start hearing my video card catch up, but you'll see it works pretty well for what we're doing, depending on what we want to see. And that worked pretty well, but that's just for placing a little bit, and that's not really all you can do with this. But let's try the widget this time. We're in kind of close. Ctrl-Shift-Q, and now we have these different controls. We can rotate the image, we can scale it in and out, we can scale it sideways, scale it up and down. Those are U and V, or say X and Y, sorry. Then we can scale the UV out. We can scale this way, and you'll see that you'll see the image start to double up there, if you notice what I'm talking about. And then you can shift sideways, so you can actually get kind of a duplicate centered like that. Depending on if you're doing plating or something where you're gonna need to actually use seams anyway, you might actually be able to use something like that. And the offset, then right there on that button, you have the ability to turn up the opacity of your mask or yourself. And this one is an interesting one. Let's go ahead and let's go somewhere where we have the ability to see what we're doing here. And I'll pick a nice pink or something like that. And I'm going to pick a different image So it's this. We're going to go ahead and unfortunately you have to step out of Stencil in order to get it to update the image in here in your stencil. But that gives us something. You can definitely see what kind of pattern we're going to get. Now, ctrl-shift-Q brings that back up, and we're going to use this last button, the 11. Click that, and then draw the red line where you want it to fill. And then you're going to draw the blue line for the size of the stencil currently. And it's going to fill, or it's going to adjust it automatically to fit it. And that probably wasn't the best example, but let's take a look at something else. We'll go ahead and come back here. Control-Shift-Q. We'll try that again, and I'm going to say that I want that to fit across this, and then inside this area I want this part of it to fit that, and you'll see now it's pretty much the size I needed. And that was the best way to explain that would be like if I had a stencil for a letter or a word that I wanted to fit, or like Kgeogeo's earlier videos, if I was using a picture of a face and I wanted to match up the distance of the eye so that I could not lose the details when I'm trying to paint them, cloning them in from front, then, or stenciling them in, then this is what you would get. So let me go ahead and reset the transforms and get it back where we got it. Now the next thing I want to show you is that this is that you actually now also have the ability to have a stencil mask. So we'll go to the brush mask, and I've got this weird pattern already picked out. And we'll have to change that to stencil. So now we have this stencil from our texture. We're going to set that here, and then Control-Alt-Q will be able to place, well, much easier to move our stencil mask, and then we'll be able to do the same stuff of, well, since I'm using a procedural, it's even easier, but scaling it, working it out, maybe moving it along for more of a different position. Especially for procedurals, this is really good for being able to create some variations on top of variations. Okay, and then while we're inside these two circles, we can move the mask, or the brush mask, and then once we click outside, we get rid of that. And so now I'm going to pick a different bright color, and we're going to be affecting both the mask and the brush stencil, and it depends on how that mask and the stencil occupy the same space as to what we get for our output. Okay, and so I move off, then we get this interesting mix of the two, and you can go back and forth with the widgets to control both. And if you're really creative, you can do some really cool stuff with maybe using one kind of image for your brush mask, and then another complementary image for your brush texture, and get some really cool stuff going just with the paint level. All right, okay, and I'll include a link to the widget in the description, and I'll be working on another video here pretty soon to explain the changes we've done to the Blender Paint panel, and it's still coming along. Thanks a lot. Talk to you guys later. Bye.